Hello and welcome to my show Indus Cuisine, and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. We're back with another new episode from the heart of Pakistan. Today's recipe is very interesting, and this recipe has originated from the desert areas of Pakistan. Thari is a region which is located in the province of Sindh, and that area is basically a desert area. When I say desert area, it doesn't mean that people do not live over there. There are people living there. There is a small city called Umarkot, and there are a lot of tiny villages where people flourish with their cattle and livestock. But when you talk about irrigation over there, the irrigation is done through the man-made canals because rivers do not flow in that area of Pakistan. Pakistan's most important river is the Indus River, and it is considered to be the jugular vein of the country, which provides water throughout the country and provinces. Because there is scarcity of water, what people usually do in the Thari region is whenever they are cooking for people, they cook in a version where there is more gravy rather than, you could say, dry ingredients. So today's recipe comes from that area, and we're using beef in that recipe. We're making Thari Gosht. Now, what does Thari Gosht mean? Thari is the area's name. So the people who invented this recipe, the locals over there, the villagers, they named it Thari Gosht. Gosht means meat, Thari means the people of the region Thari. It's a very interesting recipe, and it has been a part of that area since people have been living there. People cannot definitely tell the year this recipe was invented, but if you ask anyone, they say our ancestors have been eating this and cooking this for quite some time now. So what are the ingredients for this recipe? We need around a kilogram of beef boneless. This comes from the thigh of the animal. If you want the brisket part, you can use that also. Apart from that, you need around 5 tomatoes, 2 onions, some mint leaves, and some green chilies. And then you will be needing some bay leaves, some ginger, some garlic, you need red chili powder, salt to taste, oil, fenugreek seeds, you need some turmeric, you need some garam masala, and you need some cumin powder. These are all the ingredients for today's recipe. And now what do we have to do first? First, what I'll do is I'll just pick up this board and bring the red board forward. I should have used the red board first only. Why? Because we need to prepare the beef first. So what I'll do is I'll pick the beef, I'll keep it over here, I'll remove the board, I'll pick up my meat knife, which is usually a little thinner than the other ones. Why? Because then you can get a better grip over the meat. I'll just keep this on the side. As you can see, it's been folded. As over here there's a very thick line. I will just cut along that, and I shall open the meat. Now what I'll do is I shall just take the silver lining out, because the silver lining usually is the toughest part of the animal, which takes a lot of time to break down. In other words, it takes a lot of time to get soft. Slowly and gradually, this part of the meat, which has a lot of veins in it, as you can see over here, is very tough. I'll just take it out and I'll keep it on the side. If you have animals at home, such as dogs or cats, you can make a mince out of this and you can use it for them. It never goes to waste. I'll keep it back in the bowl. Now what we'll do is we shall just make thin slices of the meat. It will take a little bit of time, but I'll show you halfway through, and then I'll show you the final look of it. Just make the beef equal in the width, remember that, before starting to cut it. Why? Because I want the meat to get soft equally. Now what I need is I need a cooking hammer, which I'll just pick from the back, and I'll bring it back and I'll let you know what to do next. So we have the hammer now. What I'll do is I'll just basically start pressing the meat down, beating it. And the reason behind me doing this is that this will break down the muscle of the meat, and the meat will get tender, soft, and it will cook quicker. So always try beating the meat down with a cooking hammer and not otherwise. You have to beat both the sides and make it flat. You can't use this meat for steaks. You can only use this for cuisines such as Pakistani cuisine, Indonesian cuisine, Indian cuisine or Bangladeshi cuisine, where we cook the meat for a very longer period of time. So as you can see, now we have to cut the meat. I just basically cut all the pieces, and the single piece which is left is this one. You just have to make an inch of a distance in between and then cut the meat slowly and gradually. Now when this is done, what I'll do is I'll pick up a pressure cooker, add it in the pressure cooker and then cook it. But for this recipe, we will do it a little differently. Usually what do you see? You see the water going in with some ginger and garlic and with the meat, and we cook it for 30 minutes. But we'll be adding some things to the water so that the broth is delicious and we can then reuse it in the food when we'll be adding it back into it. So firstly we need a pressure cooker. The cooker is at the back. I shall just pick it up, place it on the stove, or let's say over here for now. First what I'll do is I'll pick up some water, around 1.5 liters, add it over here, and then keep the remaining at the back. The meat goes in. Now I shall rinse my hands, change the board and tell you what to do next. So now after adding the beef to 1.5 liters of water, what will we do? We'll pick up a tomato. I'll take the eye of the tomato out. First, let me keep the knife which I was using for the meat at the back so that we can avoid cross-contamination. Take the eye of the tomato out first. Cut the tomato into 4 quarters. Place it in the water and add around a teaspoon of salt. You have to add the salt because the water needs to be seasoned fairly and nicely. Then what I'll do is I'll pick up a piece of ginger, keep it here, slice around a tablespoon and keep the remaining on the side. What I'll do next is I shall just take the ginger piece, cut it into 4 pieces and place it into the meat. And when this is done, I'll just pick up 2 pieces of garlic. I shall just crush them lightly and pick it up and toss them in the water. When this is done, just shake it up a bit, spread the meat out, and now I'll put it on the stove for, let's say, 30 minutes. Now if you would have cooked this meat without the pressure cooker, it would have taken an easy time of, you could say, 2.5 hours minimum to make it soft. And apart from that, you would have to keep on adding water every 30 minutes. So that means for a good 2.5 hours, you're roaming around the kitchen vicinity. This saves you time, this saves you your energy, and then you can do other things with your time which you can save. So now till I'm just cooking, what I'll do next is I'll pick up a pan, I'll place it over here, and now I shall start cooking. So firstly, what should we add? We shall be adding a cup of oil, which goes in. Keep it at the back. When it's done, increase the heat to medium. This is too high. And let the oil come to heat. So till the time the oil is coming to heat, what I'll do next is I shall just take the ginger and shred it. So I'm not finely shredding the ginger right now. I'm keeping the ginger a little thick so that I can enjoy the texture of the root. Now when I said root, that basically means ginger. Why? Because ginger is a root vegetable. It grows under the ground, not over the ground. The ginger here goes in the dustbin. You do not need this, and just shake it up and try pulling whatever is in there. I'll push the ginger at the back with my knife now, and I shall just pick up some garlic. The garlic goes on the thinner side of the grill. I'll just take each and every piece and finely shred it. We shall be also tempering for this recipe, which will be in the second part, not right now, and I shall let you know how to go about it. Whatever is left for the garlic, you can keep it at the side. Why? Because you want to be very safe with your hand. You don't want to cut yourself. Remember small things in life, it will take you a very long way ahead. When this is done, just take this, shake it up, put the shredder on the side, and as you can see, the oil is hot. First goes in the ginger, and then goes in the garlic. Now the remaining pieces of garlic, they can be finely chopped and added to this recipe. Now you might be thinking, why is the chef doing this when he usually throws them away? When we're talking about food from Thari, people over there consider not wasting anything. Why? Because things are very, you could say, scarce. So for this recipe, you need to be very, very apt about it. Okay, so mix this up. Now I'll just rinse my hands and I'll tell you what to do next. So the next step is taking 2 pieces of onion and finely slicing it. I've put the heat on pilot. Why? Because I do not want the ginger garlic to go really brown. Take the root out and then finely chop the onions. You have to finely slice the onions. Why? Because when you finely slice the onions, then only you will get the perfect texture for this recipe. I shall just keep the onions here, finely slice them, and then add it to the pan. This is done. Cut from between, shift it, turn around. This is done. Pick the onion up, transfer it to the pan, add around, you could say, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, increase the heat to full and let it cook till it's properly brown. So till the time this is cooking, go for a short break, and once we're back, I'll let you know what to do next. Don't go anywhere, keep watching Indus Cuisine. Welcome back. You're watching Indus Cuisine and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. During the break, I just waited for you, and the only thing I did was I took the meat out of the pressure cooker and I didn't waste the water over here. As you can see, the meat is there. The skin is here of the tomato. What I'll just do is I'll just pull out the skin, because that will not be needed, and throw it in the dustbin. When this is done, now we will continue with the recipe. As you can see, on the other hand, that the onions are nice and brown. Let them be there. Reduce the heat. Remember, you do not want to overcook them. Now what do we need? We need some tomatoes, and for this recipe, the way we're going to cut them is a little different. We will just take the eye of the tomato out. Usually we either finely slice them, either we finely chop them. For this recipe, we will put them in quarters in the food even. Why? Because we want the flavor, we want the pulp to stay with the skin. Every province in Pakistan has another way of cooking, remember that, and they use the ingredient which is very easily and widely available in very different manners compared to other people. So just add all the tomatoes in the pan, increase the heat, and now let them cook. So these tomatoes will cook in the oil as we go. On the other hand, now what do we need? We need a few of the other spices. First, what we'll do is we shall just pick up around 3 bay leaves, take the remaining and place them at the back, and place them in the oil. Why? Because I would like them to fry nicely so that the temperature is maintained. On the other hand, what I'll do is I'll just give a lid and I'll reduce the heat to medium. Now that is it. Everything's done. Now, what do we need? We need some green chilies. We'll pick up around 6 pieces. This recipe is spicy, this recipe has flavor, but this recipe needs to be cooked another way. Now we will not pull the stems out, we shall cut them so that we have this hole at the back. Now what is the reason? When you have a hole at the back, or when you have an opening at the top of the chili, what happens is that the heat will penetrate in the chili and it will start cooking and it won't lose its shape. So you need to remember that with every cooking style, with every different province in Pakistan, food is cooked in a very different manner. Now, place the green chilies in the oil. This will also bring the temperature down of the piping hot oil. Why? Because the oil is hot and the green chilies are at room temperature. So now what I'll do is I'll just change the side of the tomato place it at the base of it and let it cook. So till the time this is cooking, what we'll do is we shall start adding some spices. But firstly, we need to blend one of the spices. I would like to blend the fenugreek seeds in the blender over here. So what I'll do is I shall take the broth. As I told you, this will not go to waste, and the ginger pieces I had added in the meat will go with it on the side. The fenugreek seeds go in. Then what do you need? You need to add 2 green chilies. Add the stems if you like. Take a ladle of the broth, mix it up first and add it into this. If you see a tomato, you can toss it in also. That's all the flavor we'll be needing in this recipe. On the other hand, what I'll do is I shall pick up some mint leaves, take the beginning of it and place it in the blender. Give this a lid again. Let the tomatoes cook and get soft. Place the lid on top and blend it really fine. You don't need to add a lot of water. I need to blend it and cure it. It's blended nicely. I'll just add it to the ramekin over here, and this will be used in the food. So keep the remaining at the back or whatever's left. Now, as you can see, everything is done. We'll start mashing the tomatoes just a bit and mix everything. Keep it over here, start mixing it. The tomatoes are nicely cooked and the onions are nicely browned. What I'll do now is I'll add this paste in the oil so that it fries and it dries down nicely. Whatever's used goes at the back. Start mixing it so that you get a nice aroma. And we give this a lid for 5 minutes. So till the time this is cooking, we'll just clean up and then I'll let you know what to do next. So I've given it 5 minutes, and now what I'll do is I'll start adding the masalas, the spices. So first what we'll do is we'll add the cumin powder. The cumin powder goes in. Then we'll add around half a teaspoon of salt. I like adding the salt as we go. I do not add the salt in one go. Why? Because if you add too much of salt, the food goes bad. You can't reduce it, but you can always increase the salt. Remember that. Now we'll add the turmeric powder. Then we'll add the red chili powder. And that's about it. All the remaining things go at the back. And the garam masala goes in the end. Mix all of this up. And now transfer all the meat. The meat goes in and we mix it up on high heat. Increase the heat to full and start folding everything. This is done. Now keep the heat on high, pick all of the broth up and keep it over here, and pick the ladle up and start transferring the broth in. The broth goes in. On high heat. And we just shake it a bit. We've added around, you could say, 3 cups of the broth. The broth goes back and we place a lid on top. We shall cook this on high heat till the time this broth completely evaporates, and then we'll add a little more. So till the time this is cooking, I'll just clean up because 5 minutes will go over here. Until that time, we shall just get ready with all the things we need for dishing this recipe out for today. So as you can see, today's recipe is done. It was delicious, it was quick. If you use a pressure cooker, and if you do not have a pressure cooker, you can do the same thing with a normal cooking pot, but you will have to keep adding water every 30 minutes. In the end, what I'll do is I'll just pick up some garam masala. I'll sprinkle it at the top, around, you could say, 3 to 4 pinches, and today's recipe is ready. I'll see you in another episode of Indus Cuisine. Take care of yourself, lovely people. Have a good day. Bye-bye.